I'm Maya Chen, 38, and I had spent weeks, no, years, building up to this one night. A corner table at a stunning harborside steakhouse in Boston. Velvet curtains, gleaming chandeliers, seared steak on bone china. I had done everything right. And yet, when I slid 3 embossed envelopes across that table, first-class tickets to Hawaii, one for each of them, I watched my family look at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of their shoes. Drop a comment, let me know where are you listening from, and what time is it for you right now. I would love to know who's the part of our community. My sister, Sandra, tore hers open first. Her lips curled before she even finished reading. "You're still trying to buy our love, aren't you?" she said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the restaurant's soft jazz. She tossed the ticket onto her bread plate like it was trash. My dad leaned back in his chair, his chuckle low and deliberate. "No one here actually likes you," he said, loud enough for the couple at the next table to go quiet. A server froze mid-step. My mom twisted her napkin into a knot and stared at the table, silent as always. Their words weren't new. I had heard versions of them my whole life. But in that moment, in that restaurant, surrounded by strangers, every single slight from my childhood crashed into me at once. I had built a tech empire from nothing. I had sold an app for $8 million at 23. My name had been in industry articles on stage at summits. And still, they looked at me like I was nothing. Something cracked open inside me. Not grief. Not shame. Something colder and quieter. I smiled, nodded once, and said, "Understood." Then I stood, my chair scraping the polished floor, and walked out. Their laughter followed me into the parking lot. My phone buzzed with a text from Sandra. "Good luck buying respect." That text was the last thing she'd ever have the upper hand on. That night, something in Maya shifted forever. But what she did next would make her family wish they had never laughed. Keep listening to find out how she struck back in a way none of them ever saw coming. The morning after the dinner, I sat in my Boston condo, watching the skyline glitter through the floor-to-ceiling windows. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. "Sell the Cape Cod house," I told her. "Start tonight." That house had been left to me, and only me, by my grandfather. It was the one thing in my life that was purely legally, undeniably mine. By morning, a developer had offered $2 million cash. No negotiation. No questions. The deal was sealed, the locks changed, and for the first time in years, I felt a weight physically lift from my chest. If you're enjoying this so far, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to listen these type-of stories daily. 3 days later, my dad called. His voice shook with rage. "That was our family's legacy, Maya, and you sold it like a selfish brat." I held the phone away from my ear, listening to the same tone he had used my entire life. Dismissive, furious, entitled. When he finally stopped, I hung up without a word. Sandra's text came seconds later, dripping with contempt. I deleted it without reading past the first line. Then came my mom. She showed up at my door in a buttoned-up coat, sat on my couch, and said softly, "We're hurt, Maya. Why didn't you talk to us first?" Her voice was gentle, but there was no apology. No acknowledgement of the years she had watched me drown in their neglect without saying a single word. She sighed and left. Her visit stung more than my dad's call, because she still wouldn't stand up for me. I turned to Eric, my boyfriend, a tech colleague who had always understood my drive. We met at a quiet cafe near my office. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he leaned forward. "You've been carrying them financially for years, haven't you?" he said. I nodded. He then asked something that made my blood run cold. "Have you checked the family trust lately? Wendy, Sandra, has been spending a lot." I had set up a family trust years ago, pouring in millions from my app sales. I had trusted Sandra to manage it fairly. Eric offered to dig into the financial records that same night. What he found would make your jaw drop, and it was only the beginning. Don't you dare scroll away without listening. What Sandra had been secretly doing with Maya's money is something you won't believe. 2 weeks later, Eric and I sat in his Cambridge apartment, his laptop open, financial records spread across the screen. My hands were cold before he even said a word. What he had uncovered made my stomach drop straight to the floor. Sandra had siphoned $500,000 from the family trust, money I had poured in over years from my own hard work, and funneled it into a flashy startup she had been pitching to her ad firm's investors. When the firm rejected the idea, she funded it herself. With my money, the startup crashed within months. And that wasn't all. She had also used trust funds for personal luxuries, a leased BMW, designer handbags, a vacation home rental in Nantucket. All of it charged to a trust that was supposed to protect my parents' retirement and her own children's future. She thought you'd never notice, Eric said quietly. I stared at the screen, hands clenched. She was right, I hadn't noticed. Because I had trusted her. Because despite everything, some part of me still believed she wouldn't cross that line. I made a decision on the spot. I called my lawyer the next morning and instructed her to transfer the remaining trust balance, barely $1 million, to a Massachusetts charity for foster children. Every cent legally moved. Final. I didn't notify my family. They'd find out soon enough. And they did. A Boston Business Journal ran a story hinting at a financial investigation into Sandra's firm. Her startup failure went public. Colleagues who had once fought for seats next to her at industry lunches now whispered about her over those same lunches. Her reputation, the thing she had guarded more carefully than anything else, began to crack. My dad called again. You're tearing this family apart, Maya. First the house, now this charity nonsense. You're punishing us for nothing. I let it go to voicemail. Then I deleted it without listening to the end. My heart felt lighter than it had in a decade. Sandra went quiet. She was too busy scrambling to save herself. But even with the trust gone and Sandra exposed, Maya still had one more fight coming. A lawsuit, a vicious public smear campaign, and a revelation from beyond the grave that changed everything. Fall hit, and with it came my dad's legal team. He sued me over the Cape Cod house, claiming I had stolen a family asset. The lawsuit landed on my desk in a thick envelope, accusatory and dramatic. I wasn't afraid, not even a little. My grandfather's will was ironclad and notarized. I was the sole owner. My lawyer reviewed the documents for 10 minutes before saying, "This is baseless." The judge dismissed the case in a single hearing. Then Sandra moved to a public smear campaign. She posted on a Boston community page, calling me a greedy sister who had sold our family's legacy for personal profit. She tagged mutual acquaintances. Within 24 hours, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years were sending me cautious messages. Aunts and uncles went silent. The accusations stung, but I didn't respond. I had learned long ago that fighting Sandra's noise with my own would only give her a bigger stage. While she burned, I built. My tech company was thriving, new contracts pouring in. I started a foundation to fund STEM education for local kids. And then, one winter evening, an email arrived from my grandfather's lawyer, a name I hadn't heard in years. Attached was a scanned letter in my grandfather William's familiar handwriting, dated weeks before his death. Maya, it began, you've always had a fire in you. Don't let anyone dim it. Live for your values, not their expectations. He wrote of his pride in my drive, my independence, the things my family had never once acknowledged. I sat at my desk with snow falling softly outside, tears blurring the words. William had seen me when no one else did. His words were a hand reaching through time, steadying me. Sandra's world collapsed completely. The financial investigation went public. Auditors found the full picture: $500,000 embezzled, personal luxuries charged to the trust, a career built on borrowed credibility. Her firm dropped her. Major clients canceled. A formal embezzlement charge followed. Her name was blacklisted in Boston's business circles. I read about her in a news brief and felt nothing. No joy, no regret. Only closure. One snowy evening, Eric took me to a small cafe in the North End. String lights glowed through the windows. He was quieter than usual, his hand fidgeting. Then he slid a small box across the table. Maya, he said softly, you're my home. Will you marry me? My heart raced, not from fear, but from a joy I hadn't known I was capable of feeling. I said yes. A year after that dinner, I stood at the altar of a small Boston church in a white dress, surrounded by friends and colleagues who had become my chosen family. My dad, my mom, and Sandra were not there. I hadn't invited them. The absence didn't ache. I had made peace with their silence. I named my foundation after my grandfather, the William Chin Fund, dedicated to helping young women launch tech startups. At the first gala, I watched a 20-year-old pitch her app to investors, eyes bright with ambition. I saw myself in her, not the girl who had begged her family to see her. The woman who had decided she was enough and proved it. The truth I carried out of all of this is simple. Self-respect is not something others give you. It's something you choose, every single day, by refusing to live for anyone's approval but your own. Maya's family lost everything chasing control. She gained everything by letting them go. Like this story, if Maya's journey moved you, subscribe so you never miss a story like this one. Drop a comment below, would you have forgiven them, or walked away like Maya did? New stories daily, hit that notification bell so you're always first.